But one thing that you gotta remember is one monkey don't stop no show. This train gon' keep on rolling. Oh yeah, just think our life gon' keep on going. Oh yeah, this train gon' keep on rolling. Oh yeah, just think our life gon' keep on going. Oh yeah.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Our Community Conversations. We're here at McKinstry Banquet Hall, located at 5480 Jug Factory Road, here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. It's a special place for special people for all special occasions. We're also broadcasting on Sound Booth Radio and Sound Booth TV with my good friend Mike Wilson. Mike, tell them how can they sound in on Sound Booth Radio and Sound Booth TV.
Sure thing, Daryl. Check us out on Sound Booth Radio. You just go to your iOS or your Google Play Store. Download the Live 365 app. Once you downloaded that free app, then you go to the search bar and type in Sound Booth Radio 106.1. That'll get you on with us on the radio side of Sound Booth Radio. Check us out on the TV side. Go to YouTube. Type in Sound Booth Radio 106.1. And that'll get you on with us right now to watch this program.
Well, as always, Veronica Taylor provided us with the COVID update. And as of April the 29th, it hadn't been updated since April the 29th, but as on April the 29th at 2:42, they had 5 or fewer inpatients for DCH systems that were positive with COVID-19. No inpatients were positive with COVID-19 or being treated in the ICU, and no inpatients who were positive with COVID-19 on ventilators. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for the fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarships, education, research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. I want to thank Veronica for providing us with that copyright material disclaimer and also the the COVID update. And as always, we say a prayer for everyone as we always do. And we just want to thank God right now for no one was being in the hospital positive for COVID-19 in the ICU or in ventilators on April the 29th. Ain't that a blessing? If you will, just join in with us. Heavenly Father, thank you for your grace, your mercy. Thank you for sparing us another day to be here on this earth, Heavenly Father. Thank you for all your many blessings that you continue to bless us with. Thank you for our teachers right now, Father. We thank you for them, for all they do. We continue to pray for each and one of them for whichever level they're teaching on, elementary, high school, middle school, college, whatever level they're on. Heavenly Father, we're asking that you continue to watch over them. We're praying for our military personnel as of right now. Continue to watch over them. We're praying for our government. Heavenly Father, go with the bereavement families right now. We asking that you let them know that you're still in charge, and we're asking that you wrap this family around your bosom right now. Heavenly Father, we want to pray for Mike and Veronica and all the people on this community conversation, and we just want to thank you once again. We want to thank you for all the many blessings that you have stored upon us. In your Son Jesus Christ's name, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Mike. Let me bring you up here on the program with us. I want to do a little getaway from all these issues. Just so much going on these days right now. I had a caller coming in, Veronica, I think it was. You can call us back now and put you in on us on the program. Before we get started, Mike, I guess we can go ahead and do our commercial break and give people time to chime in. I'm making sure are we live? Mike?
Looks like we are live right now. Yes, sir.
Okay, I just want to make sure we hadn't had any issues lately, so that's a good thing. I want to say hello to everyone that's chiming in with us. Let me see, make sure I got this correct. For some reason in the group, Mike, I can't see all the names of the people. I guess I got to go in there and change it up a little bit.
Yeah, I think we might need to try to do something about the notifications too, Derek, because I don't think we're getting the notifications to everybody that we're actually on.
Okay. Hold on. Okay. Let's see. Let's Delbert said, man cannot run a household on a teacher's salary. That's why most men leave the teacher profession. Dion Washington say, I'll be on to dialogue with you. And JD Webb say, well, there's a lot that can be said, the truth, the reality, the rumor, and the myth about male teachers. Okay. Mike, you there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Somehow drop the call or something.
Yeah, Veronica.
Can you get Veronica back?
Yeah, she's back on.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Before we get started, let's take a quick commercial break, y'all, and we'll be right back. Make sure these people are on our page, on our group. Yeah, I'm gonna work on the notifications. Get that going.
Darryl, did I send you that new commercial, New Generation Barbershop?
I wasn't able to download it for some reason. I asked Carmelo to send it to my email, and I don't remember getting it from the email section.
So, okay. Yeah. I think you said you sent it, but I'll make sure you get it again.
Okay. But yeah, here we go. We'll take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back, guys. Stay tuned and keep watching our community conversations.
Yeah. Sometimes.
Yes. Well, sound like the community, all the commercials are not working at this moment, so we'll go right back into the conversation then, Mike. I'll figure that out in just a second.
Okay, yeah, we still no commercial.
No, go ahead.
No, we're
still live. We'll just stay live until I can get these commercials rebooted.
Man, that's some blessing. Yeah, make sure everybody know to check us out on the YouTube channel also. So, if you are not a member of our community conversations, you'll be able to check us out. We can't really share this page on Facebook, because if we do, then we'll start running into those same problems we've been having. But you can check us out on YouTube, Soundbooth Radio 106.1. And you can catch us live right now, so you won't miss any of the things that we've been talking about.
Right. You can still comment through YouTube. That's correct, right? Mike, they can still comment through YouTube, right? Through YouTube. Mike.
Yeah.
They can still through YouTube. They still can comment, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Once again, we are live, and we're just gonna go ahead and start the conversation. And while I can download the videos and take a break in the middle somewhere, but it's National Teachers Appreciation, and we definitely want to thank all our teachers. It is so important that we have teachers in our lives today. Actually, if you think about it, Mike, teachers are the parents for 8 hours of the day. Actually, teachers play a big role in the children's lives for 8 hours. And they are so important that some of the home training comes from school. I'll give you an example. And I'm going to talk about myself. In the second grade, of course, I think it was second. I was going to Parkview Elementary at the time in the second grade. And I can eat, right now today, I can eat a fried potato, a baked potato, a boiled potato, but I cannot eat a mashed potato. English peas, lima beans, black-eyed peas, turnip greens. All those things were vegetables that my second grade teacher tried to make me eat, and I couldn't stomach it. Well, the only vegetable far as a bean, is green beans. She got me to like green beans. Drink all my milk, um, and my fruit. You know, we used to have a real meal back in the day.
That's
But
right.
those meals, what Miss Davis was trying to do, you know, we had the 5 food groups that everyone was trying to teach us about back in those days.
Yeah, the pyramid.
Yes. And at that point in time, she was trying to get me to eat certain foods, and I just couldn't stomach it. But far as a teacher, far as teaching math and um, those basic ABCs and multiplying, excellent. I mean, I couldn't say I can't think of a better second grade teacher at that time. But I just couldn't stomach the food that the school for mashed potatoes with. I just couldn't stomach it. That was just one of my things. But teachers play a big role. Back in the day, they used to be your parents. They could call your parents. They could say, "Hey,"
Mm-hmm.
they could paddle you. Capital, you know what we call capital. Yeah, corporal punishment back then was welcome because you would do right and you wouldn't have to worry about somebody calling your parents. So I appreciate all my teachers from elementary school all the way through through even my college year. I appreciate all the wisdom and information that they passed on because it helped raise me. I'll put it that way. Some people have some.
I think that's the thing with each and every one of us. I think we probably all had a teacher or teachers that help shape who you are. And because you have been with these teachers, especially when you're in elementary school, you generally in that class the whole entire time. You don't really do a lot of switching of classes. They kind of teach you a lot of things that you know. And of course, we had a lot of home training anyway before we
Mhm.
went into school. But nowadays, like these kids, they go into school like at well, it's like 8 o'clock in the morning and getting out at 3, and by the time they get off, their parents are gone to work, so they don't have any other teachers after the fact. So um, yeah, we did. I noticed that one thing that we were talking about tonight was male teachers
Mhm.
uh, in the school, and until I got into, I guess, high school, I really only had one male teacher, Mr. Henderson, and he was a huge impact on me in the 6th grade, when I was going to Westlawn. So and now mind you, I've been out of school for a long time to remember this man. He was actually a candidate for Teacher of the Year a couple of years ago.
Okay.
So um, yeah, a good teacher I think will stick with you.
Man, I went to Martin Luther King in the 6th grade when you mentioned that Martin Luther King, well, it was called 32nd Elementary back when I was going there, and that was named because of the street that it was on. But
Mhm.
Mr. Hicks, Mr. Cameron, Miss Stepper was my homeroom teacher. Um, those teachers were deeply involved with your home base as well as your school base. There were several men, like I said, that was involved in the school process when I was coming up. 7th grade, when you get there to West Lawn, we went from Martin Luther King to West Lawn. You had Mr. Bell, of course, was the principal. I don't know. These teachers might not even play a role in your lives at that time. They were older then, but Mr. Bell, um, let's see, some of the other male teachers were there. The coaches, Coach Hollins, he was the PE
Mhm.
teacher there at one time. Um, it was like the guys were in a male figure for physical education, but there were male teachers also in the classrooms, and I'm gonna think of his name. It just don't have the classroom male presence as we did back in the day. And I just
You
wanted,
know, what there are two um two good friends of mine that are actually male educators. And we talk about this quite often, and I meant to call them and see if I couldn't get them to come on the show tonight.
mm-hmm.
But one is in South Carolina, and we've had him on the show before. And of course, one of them, he actually works at Central Elementary as a PE teacher. Uh, and a lot of the kids, they love having those men teachers as their teachers. It's just I don't know, it's something different. I don't know if the little boys kind of look up to them more so because they are male figures. I'm not exactly sure. I would like to get that from them, but it's becoming increasingly more difficult to even be a teacher nowadays because you can't really say anything to the kids, and you can't really help mold kids. Like you said there before when we were in school, they had corporal punishment. At the very least, you was putting time out or something to that aspect. And the way I understand it now is they can't even put kids in time out anymore. So it's like, well, how do you discipline?
I'm not sure. I was hoping Deion Washington was on with us and joining the conversation, giving us a point of view from a young African American male teacher point of view. I mean, someone brought up earlier in the comments that a male teacher couldn't provide for his family from the salaries, and this there's somebody Curtis Travis saying teacher salaries are too low.
Absolutely.
And,
I do agree with that.
two things I agree with that. Don't get me wrong. Here's where I think our priorities are in the wrong position. So let's take a PE coach for example that teaches basketball, and that basketball teacher, that basketball player goes on to be a superstar. Well, who played the main role in him becoming the person that he is today was the teacher from the get go.
Mm-hmm.
That male teacher that saw him at that school, or that male, or whatever teacher it was, inspired him to be that superstar, and seeing that he had the talent to be the superstar that he is. Me saying that is teachers, police officers, firemen, public safety workers are all underpaid, and we put our priorities toward entertainers. But entertainers couldn't exist without teachers, if that makes sense.
In every aspect. Even if you were a singer, more than likely you started in your high school choir, church choir, or something like that. Someone had to teach you how to control your voice.
Yes.
If you play an instrument, someone had to teach you how to play. And that, sure enough, there are some self-taught people, but on a grand scale, someone had to teach you how to play that instrument
Mike,
and put a love in it.
let's okay, yeah. There's homeschooling, of course, through the parenting, but the parent had to be taught through, more than likely, from a school point of view, from a school teacher. So there again, if you can name any profession that a teacher don't have any kind of input in the outcome of your life, I want to know.
No, no such thing.
There isn't one.
And like Curtis said, it doesn't make sense. You can't have a teacher without a teacher. I mean, you can't have a doctor without a teacher first. I want to say hello to Curtis Travis. Who else enjoying it? Tina Sanders, Derek Goodman, Lala, Tara Campbell, Miss Milton, Geraldine Milton. All of you all, thank you all for joining in on this program. But the teacher is so important, and they're one of the most underpaid, underappreciated people or profession in the whole country. We have our priorities in the wrong place. We worship entertainers, basketball, football, TV stars, singers, whatever, and we're paying them millions of dollars. But the people that actually put the mindset of those entertainers are the least paid, are the least concerned about, the least cared for. And especially the male teacher figures. But I'm preaching to the choir now, because the people that really need to hear this won't dare make a salary adjustment for teachers, law enforcement, public safety, any of those positions. It's bad when you got a dog catcher. I'm serious. When you got a dog catcher making more than a teacher sometimes, we got a problem. When we have a dog catcher that makes more than some law enforcement personnel in this state, we got a problem. But that's a whole nother subject, I know. Join the conversation, call us 310-6067, and Lord behold, our medical field, the nurses, the doctors, the receptionists, they can't, when you get sick, who you going to go to? You're going to the doctor. And
that's why when you go into the emergency room right now, you allowed to be there 24 hours.
And who do you see first? That nurse, that receptionist. Least paid, least appreciated.
And oh my God, that's where nurses make so much money. If you tell them you make over $25 an hour, they swear that's money. It's money, it's a blessing, but sometimes they think you're supposed to move the world because you make over $30 an hour or over $25 an hour. But they just don't know how many family members you got to put up with coming in there ready to fight each other and bite each other head off. And then the first thing to do is the nurses to succeed. Maybe the nursing assistants catch it. But you expect it to be just at the job when you got Meemaw's family. Got two siblings in the family, can't get along, saying she don't want her to see Meemaw, she don't want this to see Meemaw. And then you got Pawpaw coming in saying, well, no, both of them can see, and just then you got, there's one family throughout the day. In another family, and then you have the actual health care that you have to provide. Now, in all fields, there are people, all fields, that slack on their job or slack on their work, or they go into it for money only. And I tell those nurses every day, if you want to be a paperwork nurse, go to be a paperwork nurse. Don't interact with the people. But at the same time, those of us who interact with the people, don't come in there biting our heads off because you had a bad day at work too. Or because you and your sister, your brother, your cousin don't get along and y'all having it out over mama. Because then we got to try to be a counselor and a social worker too.
All kinds of... teachers.
Just like teachers have to be counselors, social workers, teachers, and parents.
Exactly. Then they gotta be concerned about the welfare of the child in their home. They gotta be concerned that the kids are being fed. They gotta be concerned, all those things.
It's a mental dilemma too, there, because sometimes you can know that things aren't right at the home. But with the way these children's services are right now, okay, then as a teacher, you're in a dilemma. You gotta speak up and say something. But with the way, if you know how your services are, is it better for a child to go into a services and what if they take them and then they end up here, there, and everywhere? Or is it better, can we some kind of way get to this parent and get to, but once they turn in, it's like all about a systemic thing where, they're going to go here for a few months and the parent will get to parent classes and it usually is not long enough, then they get them back, and then sometimes it's just a repeat cycle. But a lot of times I've heard teachers say they know some stuff ain't right because they can tell when they see their good students doing a certain way or even bad students acting different. But just like any child, they usually are cling to the abuser. So the parent is like, I mean, the teacher's like, do I tell them and then rip them apart, even though they need counseling, or and put them in a system where anything can happen there too? Because some people in the system, I know people who said, if I get a I forgot what you call it, but if I take care of two children, they'll give me $500 some dollars a month.
Your foster parent.
Yeah, right. So yes, foster parents are a good thing. They're blessings too, but you still have to be aware that there are some people that are in any field for themselves and for the outcome of for the money and what it can do for them. And that's a strain that's put on teachers daily or the social workers. They see things happening. You know, they're trying to get the school work done and get the lesson taught, but then they see that certain kids are going through things at home.
Yeah.
And they feel like they're helping, but could it be helping? Or could you be putting in a system that's supposed to help, but things just don't go right?
Making things worse or somewhat worse emotionally on the child.
Even though they may be getting abused, it may be emotionally worse. Now you put them up in a foster care system, or even temporary or not, and you don't know all those people aren't doing the right thing.
Correct.
So for the most part, they should be, and you would be doing the right thing to report it. But it's a burden. It's a mental burden on the teacher. What do I do?
And most of them kids don't want you to know about that because they don't want to go in the system themselves.
Right.
Mill.
So it's more than it's a lot. Like we said, how much are they paid? That all needs to be taken into account. Their value. Their value needs to be taken into account.
That's true.
Just not just the fact that they're teaching.
But the thing is, they aren't just teaching anymore. Like teachers nowadays,
that's what I'm saying. Their value.
So many different things when it comes down to these kids, including making sure there's like some of them actually watch these kids close.
That's what I'm saying. They have to be parents in all forms, social worker, friend, confidant, protector, and teacher.
And if you do say something to some of these parents, they jump mad.
You don't know if it's going to make it worse for them. Right. And you don't know if it's going to make it even worse for them when they go home. So I know the thing is that you don't say anything to the parent and you report it, but still, there's always a process. And there's from beginning to end, what happens in the middle. My thing is, I'm gonna report because I'm trying to protect the child, period. But I'm still mentally, it's bad on me because I'm wondering what's gonna happen. But from the time I report this to the time something's done, especially once their parents been notified.
Yeah, excuse me.
They might not touch them again, but what about the mental stress verbally?
Yeah. I didn't get a chance, and I just want to interrupt the conversation. We also wanted to say to the family of John Bishop Jr., we sent our condolences and prayers out to them. Those of you that remember John from Dreamland, John Jr. is Dreamland, and we want to send our condolences and prayers out to their family, Janetta, and all the rest of the Bishop family. We want to send our prayers out to them on the loss of her brother, John Bishop Jr. And I did have a photo that didn't come through. I don't know what happened to the photo coming through, but we do want to mention that we do remember the good days. We want to remember the good days of John Jr. and John Bishop Jr. of Dreamland, and then in their whole family. So we keep them in our prayers also. Veronica, I think you said you might have you remembered John.
Yes. John was a good person.
Very good.
Yep. Ain't nothing he wouldn't do for you. Yep. And I mean, his sister is as well.
Yes, most definitely. We appreciate them and the Dreamland family, the whole Dreamland family. We send our prayers out to you all over in Jerusalem, as they used to call it, over in Jerusalem.
You got Jerusalem.
Join the conversation, you all. If you'd like to join the topic, is Lala. If you're still on here, let's get an update about the sex offender in the community. I met with Lisa Young, the NAACP president, on yesterday, and some of the members of the some of the members of the community about the sex offender in the community from across from McDonough Hughes Center, which is Fairview subdivision here in Tuscaloosa. And those of you that didn't chime in on last week, there was a court hearing that took place in the county courthouse in reference to allow or not to allow a particular sex offender to live within the city limits. And I'm not sure what the update was as of today, but from my understanding, it was took upon advisement, and the judge allowed at this moment. Now, I'm not sure if this is not correct or it is correct, but from my understanding, the neighborhood said the sex offender is still living in the neighborhood, but possibly shouldn't be living in the neighborhood. So we're waiting on a court order notification to see if that's going to be true and go from there. If you would, Lisa Young, give us a call in on the program. Also, don't forget, May 24th, voting primaries. Veronica, or the Democratic nominees. We got House members and representative positions all being ran. Normally in the primary, and a lot of these situations in the primary pretty much determines the outcome of that position. For example, Bobby Singleton's position, I don't think a Republican is running against him.
I think he's unopposed.
So he's unopposed. Chris England unopposed. AJ McCracken. Several other people. But we do have Curtis Travis is running for one of those particular districts, 72. Curtis called. Let's talk about it.
Lisa Ward, hers won't be till November.
Lisa Ward, she's running for Senate
seat.
She's running for the Senate seat, which more than likely is going to be against one of the Republican candidates. Who is it? Now, it is a guy that's running for that Democratic position, but I think he said he live over in Alberta City somewhere. But I think I heard an ad where he was asking for a vote. I can't think of his name. He's running for Senate. But you got the big dogs that's advertising every day on TV that's running for Senate also. So what's the lady?
Yeah, Lisa running against Gerald Allen, of course. That's oh my God.
Hey, we got Curtis Travis on the phone with us.
Hey, Mr. Travis, how you doing, sir?
Good evening.
Hello.
Good evening. How you doing?
How you doing?
Well.
We're getting down to the nitty gritty. About 21 more days, and we want to set it up where you can come on the program and talk to the people about your platform for the upcoming election.
Well, I look forward to it and everything. That's really important because, as you was talking about, it's unfortunately for Democrats, right now, all the air seems to be sucked up by the Republicans, right now with the governor, the U.S. Senate races, and I think it's state office. But there are other people that actually run on the Democratic tickets for governor and lieutenant governor and U.S. Senate, and of course my House race and everything. And and we definitely need to make people aware. It is important enough that we need to go vote on the 24th and everything, and then we need to vote this time like we haven't voted before and all, because one of the things that has happened to our community is that our people are not voting. And I was listening had the opportunity to listen at Birmingham Bear, Richard Airden being the keynote speaker in this past weekend in Montgomery, and one something he talked about. He said, when our folks were woke, when we were actually voting, we let this black man jury and Detroit, Michigan, Chicago, Illinois, and Washington, California. He kind of fading out a little bit, Mr. Curry. That's right. I thought so. No, that's what was happening in the black community. And now we're seeing, the activity that our people are not voting. It's amazing the number of people you find nowadays who are not even registered to vote. And the things that that they don't even know about election. And oftentimes, I'll be traveling, you do a drive a woman, you ask somebody, are you registered to vote? No, I haven't voted. How do you do that? You tell them, look, it's real simple, to download the Alabama Votes app and use your driver license number, you can register just like that, and people. And we just got so many. And I begin to wonder, how do we even let people get out of high school, graduate? Most of them were soon around 18 or around the time. They should be registered voters as leaving high school. That should be part of the agenda.
I
That
agree.
we get. That should be part of graduation requirement, that you're a registered voter and have to know the importance of it. And it's a thing that's, we look at the ills of our community and wouldn't.
For
talked about this, but they talked about decisions on enforcement is a road.
keep dropping, Curtis.
What scares me most is we always saw the rollback and gun right act. We see that rollback. But now when we see the rollback, like Brown versus Board of Education, several people, interracial marriage, so many other things that was defined. We thought we had a plan to get this, and these laws put in place, also. Somebody that doesn't like it in particular white community. We have seen things that we thought were law and put in place are being rolled back. And that's very dangerous. Because we've seen that happen before in the history of our country, and we just got to make sure, so our people, it ain't the one way we're gonna change this stuff is that we got to get up and vote. We got to vote some folks out of office, and we got to vote some folks in office. We got to be a voting population if we're gonna help keep us from going backwards, and that's what's so scary. That as I listen to these people and everything, because they are not doing stuff for the good of people. They're doing it but because this is what we want to do. And these people being following Donald Trump, who's practicing these things, is not about smart, not about what's right, but it's about folks are mad and upset and mad against, and as I told them folks, I said, when they were claiming and talking about the Mexican Hispanics, folks coming across the Mexican border, I said, guess what? We next, and that's what we saw this year, critical race theory, stuff like that. We are next, and we just got to be smart enough, folks, where we can be that. We got to get out and vote. We got to make vote a priority. We got to make a voting decision. But look, I got to vote before I go to work. We got to have some folks back to the polls and realize that, election day and voting day is a real important day like it used to be. Less than 50 years ago. We got to get back to that point if we're gonna sustain, if we're gonna if we're gonna sustain ourselves in this country.
Mr. Travis, we gotta treat Election Day like we treat Confederate Memorial Day.
Exactly. Yeah.
And y'all know Confederate Memorial Day is a holiday, a state holiday.
Actually, they got two of them that come. That's on Robert E. Lee Day. You got Confederate Memorial Day.
Mm-hmm.
Look at it, and Robert E. Lee is on the same day of Dr. Martin Luther King celebration. Then we just had was Confederate Memorial Holiday, 2 weekends ago?
Yes, last the 25th. Matter of fact, it was
Yeah.
April 25th. So if those particular days are looked upon state holidays, why isn't that we can't find election days to be as important as Christmas when everything is shut down, 4th of July, Labor Day, Memorial Day, Confederate Working Day. In other words, election days need to be considered a holiday that people are given the opportunity to go vote without have to being pressured to um, leave work or being considered as being, you know, you can go vote, but you gotta get back here before such and such time. Well, if the line's too long, you're not gonna get back in time.
They don't want you to vote. That's why they won't.
Well, and that's right there is the bottom line.
They don't want you to vote.
Because to me, why not make Saturday the day of voting? No, it's just like I told some people, there was a discussion going on in reference to some legislation, particularly bingo and gaming and bingo and stuff like that. And I told people, I said, look, it's not going to happen this year. I said, because when KI and them realized if they put a gaming bill on the ballot for a November election, that there's going to be too many folks that's going to come out to vote that they can't control, that they can't influence, and they don't want no surprise election. And see, because Republicans can't win election with low voter turnout, with high voter turnout. They have to have low voter turnout. And what I'm saying, they don't.
Exactly.
If our 25% folks came out in high numbers, it would be on. We wouldn't see the stuff that we're seeing right now, but we're not coming out. We look at election days and you see your number turn out, and you look at the number of registered voters in the poll, how many registered, and that's the thing that you tell folks. Forget about, it's important too, the registered do vote, I agree. But look how many folks who are already registered that stay at the polls and that stay at home, that don't go to the polls. And I've heard somebody was telling me, that they want to make it where if you miss two, in some things, if you miss 2 times voting, that your name will be stripped off the polls. They've done all that for a reason, to keep you away from the polls. And we sitting around here, got something so important that we don't think is valuable enough and important enough for us to get up and go vote. That's what's so sad. And then the other thing what people don't realize is that every time you go to the polls to vote, you got a record. They don't know who you voted for, but they know that you vote. They don't know how you cast your vote, what was your preference. They know you voted, just like this coming on the 24th. They have a record where you voted in the Republican primary or the Democrat primary. It's a record that you already got. And it's a cumulative record that they keep it. And they know how often you go to vote. They know where you go vote every time. They know where you go vote every now and then. They know where you go vote in the general election, or where you go vote in the primary runoff and general. All that's known. And it's so important because it all reflects upon your ranking as a voter. And that's why, we need to make sure that our people understand that, they didn't. And guess what? If you don't vote, politicians don't really care. They don't care about folks. They only cater to folks who are voting. They're spending that time, their money, the energy on the voters.
Yep.
They're not spending on registered folks who are registered, or they're actually spending the resources on people who actually get up and go vote. That's what's so significant about what we're dealing with. And we gotta make a difference and see what Our people got to look like when we elected President Obama, our folks went to the house and said, we're accomplished, we got to the mountaintop, we don't need to worry about going and vote now. And it has been going on, but how has that turned? You know, and we got to make a difference. Just think about it, you know, and I blame the politicians too, but I always said, you know, Hillary Clinton, she took the opinion that all the black folks want to do, that they didn't have no choice but to vote for her. They just didn't put money, they didn't put resources into the black community. If they had did that just in Detroit, they would have won Michigan. Just in Milwaukee, they would have won Wisconsin. You know, if they would just did those in the black communities, she would have been president. And if she would have been president, we wouldn't have had to ever deal with Donald Trump. You know, now it's like a bad headache. It won't go away. You know, and that's what we got to get our folks back to understand. We got to get them to go vote, and we can't be about what other. It's got to be a household thing. It's got to be a church thing. It's got to be a community thing, and we got to get back to what got us where we were, and that's getting us back to folks. I know in my lifetime, and I can recall when blacks first got elected in Greene County in 1972. There were blacks who registered to vote and had to move off the man's place because they registered to vote. I recall where they had built a new home. But when she registered to vote, she had to move off the place. And now we don't have none of that issue to deal with, and we still can't get our folks to go vote. That's what's so critical right now. And so, you know, I appreciate y'all allowing me to chime and look at the vision, but you know, it just bothers me because, you know, we're seeing them trying to roll back the hands of time. They're not about progress and going forward, they're trying to roll back the hands of time. And do you not believe if Donald Trump gets back in there a second time, some of the same thing that we see that nut done over in Russia, that you don't think he's gonna try it here? He's already looking at some of the comments he made about Black Lives Matter, stuff like that. You just imagine what type of, and with what we see happening in some of these places, just imagine what type of environment he would put in place, you know, if he's allowed to get back in that second time. We got too much on the line for now and for the future to keep sitting around and not getting up and going voting. It's too much. We could, like I said, we can wake up and unfortunately, we don't have no farm to live on no more. It just, you know, they will roll the stuff back. They think about us as much as they think about the Hispanics, and they will do everything with some of them to try to, what you said, put us back where we used to be. And we can't keep sitting around letting that be. And we can't let the other community dictate our vote habit. We gotta get up and do this for ourselves. Because if it don't, you know, I just was stronger with my children, folks who determined to move the clock back. So that's all in that think tank is how can we move the clock back? You know, this abortion thing is all about moving the clock back. You know.
So like they said, next it'll be interracial marriage.
Well, interracial marriages, Brown, you know, you heard folks say that they thought Brown versus Board of Education was wrong. You know, you can see that be the issue rolled back. I'm talking about some serious stuff to consider, you know, even from the standpoint of that bill that they talked about. One of the issues that they made, again, they may outlaw contraceptives.
Mm-hmm. And they've already been trying.
Yeah. Yeah, you just, you know, until President Obamacare, you know, insurance would not pay for birth control for women until he got it and changed up. You know, they are ready to roll the clock back. You know, all in the pretense. You know, and hopefully the white female wakes up because these things that are happening will have a bigger impact on her than us. these positions they move up and through the ladder that they white females have been able to advance on as a minority, guess what you're gonna see happening? The clock rolling back.
Mm.
And it's real as the sun coming up tomorrow. Because this is what the people, these people don't, they're not looking about to the future. They're looking back to the past. That's where they see. They don't see the future. They're looking back to the past. They're looking at holding folks back. They're looking back, trying to be in control of what they know how, rather than taking a chance with the future. That's why it's so sad.
But when he said make America great again, he meant exactly what they had already been doing, but they were doing it more low key. Now he just makes them feel more comfortable to do it openly without disguises.
Exactly. It'll be what you said, Saturdays what you said, lynchings on Saturdays.
Mm-hmm.
These are the things, you know, that we could be facing. You know, and like I said, and I was so wish I was wrong, but you know, that's only something that they know. They don't know what the future holds, so they keep clinging to the past. You know, why you want to protect these Confederate monuments and the resemblance? Because you want to live in the past, not the future. That's the good time that they saw.
And they know the future sees them becoming what black folks have been always called, the minorities. They see themselves becoming the minority. And if they become the minority, they know. They say, why are we so mad? Why should things change? For the same reason you don't want to become the minority. You've answered your own question. For the same reason you don't want to become you're afraid that we as a people will be just as low down as you were. But if you pay attention, we are the most forgiving community ever. To be honest, they probably would have it even better if we were treated as a majority, but that's just how our people are.
Yeah.
Well, but you said exactly right. That they are so afraid that we're gonna do to them what they've done to us. That's what they're afraid of.
Mm-hmm. They're afraid that we'll want some get back, to put it in layman's terms. But we are the most forgiving, and that's what we would not do. We're not like other people. We discussed it on this show. We are the most forgiving people, even when you feel like, let me get my lick back. We don't. We'll do it to each other, but we don't. We just don't. Right. And that's what they're afraid of, that we'll want to get our lick back.
Yeah. That's exactly what they're afraid. They're most afraid of that. And that's why, this abortion is because they don't think white women are having enough babies, and that's why they will outlaw contraceptives and birth control, because you can't, we can't, if they ain't got that, then they don't, as Opal said, they want to keep them barefoot and pregnant.
And though they say that the abortion law affects us mostly, they put us at the forefront for that, and some of us fall for that, but no, it's affecting them. They don't want to be barefoot and pregnant. And they use it because if it wasn't about them, they wouldn't be fighting for it as hard. Remember the women's suffrage movement? They didn't need us. They didn't need us until they needed us. They didn't use us until they needed us.
Well, the thing is, the reason I said abortion, and that's why I said it's always a double standard. They always said all black women doing is running around getting pregnant and having these babies, but then the white women ain't. But that's why, like I said, so how can we always do it lay around and get pregnant and having babies? If we practice an abortion, that's not the case.
Exactly.
Pretty done and everything and stuff, and whether it was from the incest or the daughter just getting pregnant and having an abortion, and there ain't no telling how many, because I think about this named Ed Henry. He used to be down in Montgomery as a legislator, Republican of North Alabama. He was talking about, I had this opinion now about abortion, but he had remarked back when he was in his college, he got a girl pregnant and he gave her the money to go get an abortion. But then all of a sudden now, that was what, like later on, okay, well, I should have been. That's what I'm saying. It's these issues are their issues that they try to put on us from a guilt standpoint to make it look like, and that's why it's such a big deal. For a long time, abortion never was a black woman's issue.
Exactly.
They didn't have the money to go have an abortion. Most times it never was a thought of going to have an abortion. Even if the girl was young and got pregnant, the family found some way to take care of the family. And you know about these stories and how grandmama, mama raised the daughter's child like her own children. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Because of what happened with earlier on. So that's what I'm saying. These stories are not new what the black community has done, but this is one of those issues that affected the white community. And that's even if mama then was ashamed, you went off to somebody's house that lived up north somewhere, and voila, you came back with a baby because they didn't want the other children to see you actually pregnant. They didn't want the neighbors to see you pregnant. So abortion wasn't the thing. You would, even if you would give it for adoption, but the adoption became much later. But earlier on, it was you go off, you had a baby, and maybe grandmama raised him, auntie raised him. But and then sometimes you would know your mother is almost like your sister. Or you come back, you got a bundle of joy, but nobody knew that you had a baby unless, of course, when somebody like I was going to talk and I'm gonna get out. Yeah, but that wasn't our big thing. Right. So many, so again, that's where we at with everything. But like I said, it's just that, we got so many consequences of not voting, of not voting, of not voting, of not voting. And we just need to, make sure our folks are going to the polls to vote. I just saw what they talked about this guy that Trump was pushing Ohio, won the Republican Senate nomination, give it Trump. But you know what? We need to have a Democrat that we turn out all the folks, Cleveland and Mansfield, Ohio, and Cincinnati, Ohio. We need to be turning out all the black folks when November election comes, just like Stacey Abrams did in Georgia. We need to be turning out all the black folks in Ohio when the November election comes so that we can deal with it. And tell our folks, let's not get confused. Don't think Vice President Biden had absolutely nothing to do with the price of gasoline. That's the oil companies. Mm-hmm. Because if you look at what they're reporting as record profits, if you producing the oil, refining the oil, and selling the oil, you're making money on all ends. You're making record profit. It doesn't cost you nothing no more to produce it than it did before. But what they have done, they took the attitude that they were going to fight President Biden, that they were going to make up for money that they had made under Trump bullying, and they raised these prices, unreal. At the time when Trump left out of there, at the time that President Obama left out there, America was the largest oil producing country in the world. We were producing more oil. We got more reserves than anything. But now, all of a sudden, if we're the largest oil producer in the world, how are other folks telling us what we should be praying for petroleum and what we should be getting for it? It was all a scheme. And they knew when the petroleum prices started going up, everything else went up. Manufacturers involved petroleum. Shipping goods involves petroleum. All that stuff had a direct impact. President Obama, he didn't have anything to do with it and couldn't control it. But you know what? If he go in and take a heavy hand on these oil companies, which the Republicans were protecting them and stuff like that, look what we'll be dealing with. Somebody saying, well, they'll jump up where he should have stopped the pipeline. Well, the pipeline ain't never been built. Pipeline was being built to bring heavy counter-torch sand oil down through there and bring down the refinery. But then how do you get the largest oil refinery in the world, the largest one in the United States, how do you let Saudi Arabia come in and buy your largest oil refinery? And again, with these increased prices, have you ever seen anywhere where the gas pumps run out, they ain't got no gasoline? No. That's how you ever seen the station closed, so we out of gas? It hasn't been that warm. There's a shortage of gasoline. So it's not so the only reason the price should be elevated is because there's a shortage. There's no shortage. Would you realize that here in Tuscaloosa now, that there are probably 3 Of all the oil companies in town, there's only right now I think it's less than 4 companies controls all the gas stations in Tuscaloosa. Texaco, you see the Texaco pump, same gasoline as the Sheridan pump. You see they just changing names. Just dude, one day I know down 69 South. One day I was in there, it was a marathon. The next day it got a share sign over the marathon man. It's no shortage, never been. But it's one of the things that we do because that's one of the reasons you should price increase is one of the shortage, right? Mm-hmm. Supply and demand. Supply and demand.
The only time it increases when there's a short supply. Yep.
Yeah, supply and demand. You ain't seen now gas stations so got closed. We don't have no more gas. Not one. But guess what? They jacked the gas price up 10 cents a gallon overnight. But still ain't no shortage. We got an oil refinery down right here in Tuscaloosa. You ever heard them closed and say, that they talking and got problems? Have you heard them being closed? Have you heard that they're running any time differently, trying to produce more? Because it ain't so. So that's what I say. Our people just got to be more aware of it. Stop blaming President Biden. But all President Biden is dealing with is all the screw up that Donald Trump put in, the inflationary prices. Do y'all remember when Donald Trump was going around threatening the oil, threatening the reserve, the Federal Reserve Bank, like they better not raise interest rates and all that kind of stuff? I remember that. But if the Federal Reserve would did what they're supposed to do, and some of that, we would have never had the inflationary problems that we had. He was threatening, oh, you better not. Bulldog. You remember all that conversation he had? Everybody forgets about that. He threatened them to do that job. Because if he had done that then, we wouldn't be seeing the inflation that we're dealing with now. But it was allowed to run unchecked. And look what happened. Those are the issues, and always that's what always happens to the Democrat. Where we can go forward, we got to straighten up the mess. Yeah, it's always that way. But also a lot of the stuff like you talking tonight, it is an education thing that I don't think that a lot of our people tend to know of. Like we have so many people right now who don't even look at news to be informed. You get most of the information off social media. And if it's not entertainment news, they don't really even care about it. They don't care about political things at all because they feel like, it don't really affect me, but actually it does. It affects you more than anything.
Well, all I can say, you might want to put...
Look at the decisions that affect you from the time you're born to the time you're buried.
Get that right. But you might want to do a TikTok for your voting now. That might get them out there to vote. Might have to do a TikTok advertising to get them out to vote.
You know what? I think that ain't a bad idea, Daryl. That's where the young people at TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, all of those type of venues is fine and good, and that seems to be the only way that you're gonna catch attention because like we're on this program right now, and do you think anybody under 30, under 35 is listening?
I think we got one that for sure watching under 30 that I know.
I'm hoping that we got a few folks on the YouTube channel that's checking us out, but I just I just think that any way that we can entice our young people into into knowing more about political things because, like I said, and I was young at one time, and I didn't think about why, man, this stuff ain't really.
Let me interrupt you right quick, Mike. Let me give you an example of what needs to be going on right now. Okay, kids, young people are watching basketball right now, the basketball championship.
Mm-hmm.
If you want the attention of the people that right now are millions of people, you need to run advertisement during this advertisement during this playoff series.
Yeah.
If you want to get the attention of African American people, Democrats that might go out and vote, this is the time you need to be running advertising.
That's so astronomically high. That's not feasible.
But it should be free. But otherwise, we ain't gonna get the attention of the people on matters that really, subjects that really matter. And voting is a subject that really matters, but it's not given the level of attention that it needs to be given.
Right, and you're so right there because, and just think about it, just what you said. I suspect if you're watching the game tonight, wonder how many political commercials you're gonna see during that game.
Not a one. You probably gonna get beer, alcohol, any kind of HIV. I'm just saying these
pharmaceutical companies.
Yes.
Cars.
Yeah, but you're not gonna see one political commercial that with the KIs and all those folks. They're not gonna go over there and play where you, like you said, you got a capture audience tonight. Those numbers, they're not gonna run one commercial over there. Why? Because that ain't who they want to go vote.
Nope.
And generally, the stuff that they're saying, you look at any one of those commercials for those for the governor race, all the stuff that they're saying is if anybody else would have said, they'd be what they would consider to be council culture right now. Each and every one of them.
Somebody please tell me too high for a high stepper. What that mean?
Yeah.
I think you got to be redneck to know that.
I mean, I don't know.
And she done said it in 2 commercials already.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And she been talked about shooting a gun and she could put lead on a target or something like that. I've seen them all. I'm like, I'm tired of you, Kate, with your non-talking self. I'm tired of all of them, really, and I truthfully, and I understand the reason why most of our Democratic candidates are not on TV right now is because of the finances. But I really wish that we could get some.
And they won't be there because of the exotic finance. But then, like you said, but when you think about the KI commercial, and you hear about the Tim James commercials and the stuff like that, and the Linda Blanchard, you're almost like, dang, how, can I throw up? Can I, what's the deal? Because not one commercial they're done is being done to address any problem in the state of Alabama.
No.
They all flashing. They all poking their chest out. Her 2 little fellas while she's shooting at the. I'm like, okay, is this the same woman y'all just cracked jokes about like the past 2 years?
Yeah.
But anybody to keep out a Democrat.
And
so when they telling her what to do anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and what's so sad is when you look at it, she may win this election with all those folks without even a runoff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Like the president was in town today. Yeah. President Biden was in town. Well, he was not in Tuscaloosa, but he was in the state.
Right.
And she was too busy to meet with him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure he didn't mind.
I'm sure he didn't.
Yeah, but the sad part when the hurricane or tornado come through and then your state these here, who she got to call
on? Mm-hmm.
Right. You got to go to the president.
Hey, that's something we don't need.
Like but she's so scared that some of the folks gonna take a picture with her down there with him and use it as a commercial. That you know, and getting in the craziness of what they're doing, some of the craziness of the Republicans or some of the Moe down there, talking about, oh, Gary Moe, the president could have used that time paid PR shit, you know, and stuff like that. He could have been doing stuff, but no, he did what he's supposed to do, which y'all should have been, is with Alabama workers working, producing something that's having an impact around the world. And y'all should have been out welcoming and highlighting it, because he's doing it to try to make sure that our folks put that $300 billion out there to get it done as the focus and everything, why it's needed. You know, it's going to have a direct impact to these Alabama workers. And the work they've done, they're not doing it for free. They get paid big money. So we got to, you know, we, like you said, but this is what we're dealing with. Even in the Senate, we're sweating in the heck, standing up talking about President Biden hadn't been down here to see